everybody. Welcome to War of Words. I'm Angie McMahon. Let's go. We're going to get things started. Oh, thank you. We are going to kick things off right now. So this is War of Words. I've invited 6 of my favorite comedians to wage a war of words. They're going to be debating a random word combination that I have chosen for them in advance. And you are going to vote on who you advance each round. Now, this is how you vote. You're going to scan the QR code that you got when you walked in, or you can log on to ahaslides.com/war of words. The voting isn't open now. It will open during the show. The first 2 debaters are Mike and Charisse. Please come on up. Okay, Charisse, flip over your card and let us know what your word is.
It is sticks and stones.
Sticks and stones. And what do you have here, Mike?
I have scented candles.
Scented candles. Their adjective is elderly, so they need to convince us which word is more elderly. We'll turn it over to Charisse. You have 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts now.
I think it's obvious why sticks and stones are elderly. Because they break bones, just like the elderly. Like, you know that every 5 seconds in the US, an older person breaks a hip? That's actually not a real statistic, I made it up, but it sounded good, right? And then when you think about sticks and stones, you also have a couple other ways to go, like the band, Styx, who formed in 1972, which is also the average age of every person in the band. And that's really not true either, it's more like 79, but whatever. And then you also have the Rolling Stones, which Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, who's going to outlive us all, including the Roaches, when the Earth goes through the apocalypse. So, yeah, we have some pretty good examples of sticks and stones being elderly. And, of course, like the Rolling Stones, they're only being preserved by, rock and roll and cocaine? So, I mean, that just might be the key to sticks and stones being elderly, I'm just saying.
All right, Charisse, that is your time. Mike, you have 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts now.
And let me just say, I am an elderly person. You see, I just lost my mustache. And that's what happens when you get old. Everything goes. You lose your eyesight. You lose your hearing. Your dick don't work no more. But one thing remains, your sense of smell. Oh, yeah, that's right. You can still smell everything. And it reminds you of all the good old days, those scented candles. They got so many different flavors. There's home-baked apple pie. There's fresh spring meadow. There's legal cocaine. Oh, I'm just thinking about the 20s again. I'm sorry. But you know what? I love candles because I'm stubborn and I'm old. I live in a retirement home. They tell us no open flames. Okay. Well, guess what, Shady Acres Retirement Home? I survived Korea. And if my Yankee Doodle candle decides to burn down Shady Acres, I will survive that too. Old people love scented candles.
All right, that is your time, Mike. Sure. Charisse, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
I highly disagree that scented candles are for the elderly. Most old people's homes that I go into smell like Bengay and mothballs, and I've never seen those flavors or scents at Bed Bath & Beyond or Yankee Candle. And like you mentioned, you have to be supervised around open flames. No one in their right mind is going to give my grandmother, may she rest in peace, an open flame or a candle. Why? Because she's likely going to set something on fire, and then everything is going to smell like burnt mothballs and Bengay.
That's your time. All right, Mike, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
That's exactly why we love them. We're stinky. We're old people. Like I said, your sense of smell don't go, and I know what Dorothy down the hall's Depends smell like, because I can smell them from the craft room, okay? That's why we need scented candles, to cover up all of that stench. And by the way, Is your grandmother single? Did her husband pass? She's still around? Is she looking for a date like next Saturday night? Something like that? Because, you can send her my way. I'll give her a nice scented candle.
That is your time, Mike. All right, it is time to take out those phones and get the voting going. Oh, first, Huck, who do you think won that debate?
Oof, that was a tough one. I gotta go with Charisse for spirit points.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll see if the audience agrees with you. The voting is now open. You can start your voting. We are going to find out who is more elderly. Is it Charisse with sticks and stones? Is it Mike with scented candles and costumes, apparently? Oh, it looks like the votes are in, and Charisse is the winner of the first round. That means it is loser time. Mike is going to treat us to some comedy now.
I am.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot that we were doing this. Hey, everybody, what's going on? I know I had you fooled. I'm not old. I'm actually like a young, virile man. I've recently started dating again. Thank you. It's difficult, though, for me when I'm dating because I have a lot of very particular tastes, right? Like, for example, I am really, really into tall women. I love tall girls, I do. But as you can see, I am what you would scientifically classify as a short king, 5'8". So, sometimes I get a little, in over my head. One time...
Mike, can you not hold the top?
Oh, yeah. That's my fault. Sometimes I get in over my head. One time, quite literally, I once had sex with a woman who was 6'4". Yeah, just think about it for like a half a second geometrically, like how that would have worked. I didn't realize this until we got up to leave the bar and head back to my place because we had been sitting down the whole time. And at that moment, I realized I really need to pay more attention to women because she had told me that she went to Colorado on a basketball scholarship. And I totally forgot that part. So we're walking back. I'm freaking out. I'm like, foreplay is going to be a whole new experience for me. This girl was so tall, I could not kiss and finger her at the same time. Like, it was just physically impossible. I had to switch off like this, back and forth. I don't have the wingspan. You seen that Michael Jordan poster? That's not me, okay? I felt like I was the only person working an assembly line by myself. Okay, like all the other workers were on strike. I was the one scab that crossed the picket line. People in it, you've seen that old I Love Lucy episode with the chocolates? It was that, okay? It was terrifying. I can't get away with doing that anymore. I'm a short king.
Mike, stop holding the top of the mic.
Oh my God. Oh, I keep holding the top of the mic, guys. What am I doing? Making a fool of myself up here, talking about how I love tall women. All these folks are like, look at the youth of today. What have we come to? What is going on? Oh, man. Okay. I didn't think that 3 minutes was going to take this long. And to be quite honest, I thought you guys were going to be a lot more impressed with the mustache. I didn't think it was going to fall off like that. Did you see that? I actually put like gaffer's tape on the back of this mustache, which is a damn crime because I can grow a full mustache on my own, but I did not prepare properly for today's event. I did not look at what the topic was until right before I came here, and then I thought, I've got enough things in my closet to make me look elderly, and I didn't. Borrowed the wig and the mustache, gonna have to return them in shame. Thanks to all of you, but you know what? I hope you really enjoy the rest of the show, and I will waive the remainder of my 20 seconds and give it back to the show. That's for you, too. Thanks, folks.
All right, please put your hands together for your next two debaters, Mark and Brian, everyone. All right, so Mark, what is your word?
Hard-boiled eggs.
And Brian, what is yours?
Remote controls.
And they are debating who is more sick and twisted. Mark, we'll start with you. Your time starts now.
To take an egg and crack it open, you're expecting what most logical, reasonable people would expect, and that is something that is classified more as a liquid than, say, a solid. Be runny and ready to fry into a pan or perhaps be scrambled. So for it to be this gelatinous, white, stinky, strange, odd object with like a really powdery, smelly, gross, yellowy substance on the inside is the sickest thing that Mother Nature has ever done to us all. We've all opened up the refrigerator to find one of these ridiculous things sitting there mixed in with all of the regular eggs. Well, maybe not all of us, right? But if you got like a wife or you got like roommates and shit and then they cook and then they put shit back in the refrigerator, you get what I'm saying. You find something like that in the fridge and it's not what you would expect, that is sick.
That is your
twisted.
time, Mark. All right.
Thank you.
All right, Brian, you have 1 minute. Your time starts now.
Well, for Remote Control Sick and Twisted, it was a fun science experiment for 90s kids. You misplace the remote control, and you see how your dad reacts. My dad, every time the remote control is going on, he's like, fuck, fuck, where's the remote? Where's the remote? Fuck, fuck, where's the remote? Where's the remote? Fuck, fuck. And then he would realize, oh, it's in my pocket. And then when he found the remote control, thank you, David. And then when he would find the remote control, he would tell us all the other ways we were all the other things we were doing wrong. And so it was not a good idea to hide the remote control from my dad. My dad, I think I got my mental illness from him. As you can see, I have mental illness. And it wasn't you did not want to interrupt him during his TV time. One time during the final season of Star Trek: The Next Generation, the show ended, so I switched over to the White Sox game, and I got punched in the arm like that. Now,
That's your time, Brian. All right, Mark, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
There's nothing sick and twisted about remote controls. And honestly, your father not being able to find the remote control, there's a very easy fix for that. My mother created me to be a remote control. So it was never lost. If my mother could talk to me, she could change channels. She could flip on and off light switches. She could make pictures of Kool-Aid and glasses of water. So there's nothing sick and twisted about remote controls, Brian.
All right, Brian, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
all right, eggs are delicious. They're definitely not sick and twisted. Eggs go great with everything. They make cake. They make omelets. I love eggs. Now, to be fair, one time my aunt over here, when I was a kid, she was cooking and we found a dead chick in one of the eggs, and I didn't eat eggs for like a couple months, but then I tasted an omelet and I was like, yeah, I'm back to eating eggs, all right.
All right, Brian, that is your time. We're going to get ready to vote here, folks. Turn it over to you. David, who do you think won?
I feel like I was just in between a fever dream. Personally, I'll give it to Mark because I think that him being a human remote control is pretty persuasive. That's really the only reason that you have kids, to make them do shit for you, right?
All right, we're going to open up the voting right now, and we're going to find out who is more sick and twisted. Is it Brian with remote controls or Mark with hard-boiled eggs? The voting is almost closed. Get those final votes in. And it looks like Mark won that round. That means it is some loser time from Brian to give us some comedy.
What would John Benet Ramsey's name be if she was a character on Martin? John Benet. I grew up in Antioch, Illinois, the hometown of Kyle Rittenhouse, and yes, it's true, everyone from Antioch is just as evil and racist as Kyle Rittenhouse, except me. I was homeless 6 months after 9/11, not because of 9/11, but I got kicked out of the homeless shelter in Kenosha, so I had to walk to Antioch to get my car. And I was out in the sun for a while, and my skin turned brown. And I was wearing a black shirt with a wrapped around my head, so it looked like a black turban. And someone thought I was a suicide bomber that was going to a gas station. And I was on the payphone with my friend, and I turned around, there's 4 cop cars behind me. And then when they saw my last name was Johnson, they realized there was no way I could possibly be a terrorist. So if you're going to be Middle Eastern or look Middle Eastern, don't go to Antioch, Illinois. Because there, if it's not white, it ain't right. I'm bipolar. I'm autistic. I have OTCD, PTSD. I was jerked off when I was 4. There are a lot of things that make me angry. So a few months ago at work, I was trying to explain to my boss I have restrictions. I'm disabled. And the boss goes, no, it's on your head. So I came up with a term for people who don't have mental illness or spectrum disorder try to patronize you. I call it sane-splaining. So recently I came out as gender fluid. I'm on the non-binary spectrum, but I identify as a man. It's another term for it is demisexual. Sometimes I feel more feminine, but I typically feel more masculine. If you want to know what the dating life of someone who's gender fluid but identifies as a man, the other day, a few months last year, I woke up and I played Doom Eternal because that's what a man does. Then I went to my job pushing carts that pays crap because that's what a man does too. And then, now mind you, that was the same day of that terrible tragedy in Minneapolis when Dwante Wright was shot by that cop who thought she was grabbing her taser. She grabbed her gun. Terrible tragedy, not funny. And that day at work, I saw a woman with her two daughters, looked to be about 7 and 9, and they were wearing Blue Lives Matter shirts. And that moment, I really wanted to be a woman just so I could punch the mother. And then another day, I had to go to Antioch to pick up my brother's medication because he's too lazy to get his prescription switched to his pharmacy in Woodstock. So I said Algonquin. So I had to go get his medication, and then I really had to poop, and I asked the CVS, "Is your bathroom working?" And they said, "No, it's out of service." So I figured, I'll just go to my mom's house. And my mom wasn't home, so then I had to go poop in a bank. At that moment, I really wanted to be a woman just so I wouldn't have to poop. I'm going to close with this. One of my favorite movies of all time is Back to the Future Part 2. As we all know, it was only 1 year off of the Cubs winning World Series, but the other things got right. 3 Fields have taken over, the Florida Marlins changed their name to the Miami Marlins, and Michael J. Fox has trouble playing guitar.
All right, give it up for Brian Johnson, everyone. We are going to welcome your last two debaters, David and Huck, to the stage. Huck, what's your word?
My word is hairballs.
Hairballs. And what's your word, David?
Y'all, I got go-karts.
And they are debating on which one is more true and blue. You're going to go first, Huck. 1 minute. Time starts now.
Tired of being let down by cheap imitation products and novelty fad diets that make your teeth fall out time and time again? Try True Blue Hairballs from Hutco, ethically harvested from real cats licking their butts right next to their owner faces while they're trying to sleep. True Blue Hairballs have a million uses around the household. No more worrying about Chinese chemicals leaking into your bathtub from your drain stopper and turning your kids into zombies. Plug the drain with a True Blue Hairball. No more cheap sponges that fall apart when you're scrubbing your floors with Fighter Jet degreaser. True Blue hairballs are 10 times more absorbent and hold up to stomach acid. No more Halloween costumes that offer no protection from the Biden administration's intracranial pronoun ray guns. True Blue hairballs instantly transforms you into a whimsical clown that answers to no tyrant. Hang one from the ceiling for a convenient disco ball. Place one next to the toilet to trap embarrassing odors. Throw a few in a wooden bowl for a stunning kitchen table centerpiece. Act now, and for just 6 easy payments of $29.99, you'll get 6 True Blue hairballs, 6 True Blue hairball minis, a gallon of Fighter Jet degreaser, and your own intracranial pronoun ray gun. Call now.
That's your time, Huck. David, you have 1 minute to make your case. Time starts now.
So we're supposed to argue that our word is true and blue. I looked up the true definition of true and blue, and it comes from the 1700s in England, and it means staunchly conservative. What's more conservative than go-karts? I'll explain my thinking. Here we go. Go-karts are pure Americana. They indoctrinate young children to get in the car and go and burn fossil fuels to support a what? You said it, right-wing agenda. What's more American? Give a baby a gun, put him in a go-kart, tell him to go, 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 vote Republican. There's nothing more true and blue than go-karts in here, ladies and gentlemen. Who hates regulations more? Republicans. What has no regulations? Go-kart tracks. Do 60 in that motherfucker, hit 3 kids, and you'll still walk out at 4 p.m. and have a whole day ahead of you. Go-karts are true and blue Americana, and you can't argue otherwise. They kill everything, and they're too dangerous. There's nothing that can stop them.
That's your time, David. All right, Huck, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
You want to talk about regulations and go-karts? They are so regulated. Have you been to the go-kart track at Six Flags? You have to pay for your ticket, and then you have to pay extra to go on the go-karts, like $15 for 1 minute of racing. What's more regulated than that? You take your family, you save and scrimp all year to try to get a ticket to Six Flags, and then you got to pay extra for the go-karts. Also, they come in more colors than just blue. Hairballs are only blue.
That's your time, Huck. David, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
I don't like being yelled at by a dude who looks like a bowling alley manager whose side job is hairballs, okay? Let's start there. Thing number 2, bitch. True and blue hairballs. You just picked a blue hairball. You ever seen a hairball in real life, motherfucker? It's gross. It's gray. Do you own cats? Because you look like you do, but you look like you treat them terribly, okay? Your cat's hairballs might be blue, but that's because they're probably fucking aliens, okay? These goofy-ass hairballs that you're trying to argue are true and blue ain't shit, dog.
All right, that's your time, David. All right, we're about to open up this voting. I'm going to turn over to Mark. Mark, who do you think won that debate?
Oh, man. I really think David sold me on the True Blue. And the fact that they cost money twice makes them even more Republican and conservative.
All right, we're going to open up the voting right now, and we are going to see who is more true and blue. Is it Huck with hairballs, or is it David with go-karts? Get those votes in now, folks. We're going to find out who wins, and it looks like David finally won one. All right. That means, Huck, it is time for loser time. 3 minutes from you, sir.
All right. It's loser time, everybody. Excuse me while I get more props. This is what this is the type of humor that a bowling alley manager is putting out in the public. I treat my cat very well. Yeah, my apartment just got flooded, and all of her stuff was destroyed, and I just went out and I got her a lovely little cat bed that looks like a lobster. And I got a fun picture of her sticking her leg out there like a cabaret dancer. There's one of her blue hairballs. I give her only the finest ammonia. Brand name, not store brand. All right, let's shift topics entirely here. I need to talk to you about something very important. So in the LGBT community, there are sometimes parties that incorporate the hanky code. So you go to one of these parties with a handkerchief in your back pocket, and that tells people what you're into based on what color it is. Left pocket for top, right pocket for bottom. I think that's great. You can see someone cute at a party and you think, gosh, I'd like to talk to them. But what if they're not into licking armpits? Well, if you were at a hanky code party, you could just look for a magenta handkerchief worn in the right side pocket, and boom, you might have yourself a date. I think it's such a good idea that we should bring it to other non-sexual situations where it would be nice to communicate to people what you want to do without all the guesswork. And I say we start with public transportation. Are you with me?
Woo!
All right, so let's start at the start here. The black handkerchief, worn in the right-hand pocket. And wait, am I doing this right? I want to make sure. No, in the left-hand pocket, that is heavy S&M top. In the right-hand pocket, that is heavy S&M bottom. All right, so you're on the CTA. Let's take it there. I wish to strike up a conversation, and I'm too timid to tell you to shut up. All right. Next up, we got white with multicolored dots. That is, I'm hosting an orgy, all right? I would like to go to an orgy. On the CTA, I listen to music without headphones. I like any kind of music. Lime green. Smear me with food. I want to eat food off of you. All right? Not bad, not bad. I see some of y'all out there like that a little bit. All right. CTA, I have motion sickness. I'll puke if you puke. Brown. Here we go. Now we're moving. I want to shit on you. I would like you to shit on me. CTA, I am selling chocolate bars to support my youth basketball team, and I want chocolate. Light blue with white polka dots. I like getting head from white guys. I like to give head to white guys. I will scream racial slurs at the driver, and I will bury my head in a book while you scream racial slurs at the driver. Finally, we have white velvet, exhibitionist, voyeur. That's the same thing. No change, no notes.
Give it up for Huck, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to move on to our final round. All of our finalists for second round, please take your places. All right, we'll start over with Charisse. What is your word?
It is old age.
Old age. And Mark, what do you got?
I have the symphony.
The symphony and David.
I got ballroom dancing.
And they are debating on which one is more hot and muggy. We'll start with Charisse. You have 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts now.
I think it's a little weird tonight that the representative for Black Don't Crack has gotten 2 examples of like old age and elderly, but here we are. But yeah, if you've ever had an older woman like dig in her shirt and pull out like a sweaty, dank dollar bill, then you know how hot and muggy being old is. Like, I don't know if it's because of the lack of air conditioning in old people's homes. Like, my grandmother didn't have central AC and then also had plastic on her furniture. So if you fell asleep, you had to detach yourself from it because you were dehydrated. Or I don't know if it's like the heat setting of hell that's usually on any other, season within their home that keeps their bodies feeling hot like insulated pizza boxes. But I promise you, the elderly are nothing more than hot and muggy people.
That's your time, Charisse. All right. Let's move over to Mark. You have 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts now.
I have never been to the symphony. Not at all. As a matter of fact, the only thing that I think of when I hear the term symphony is the Gangster's Paradise video by Coolio. That's right. If you remember the song Gangster's Paradise, it was a remake of Pastime Paradise by Stevie Wonder, and it featured a lot of string instruments, and it was a hot and muggy-ass video with a very sweaty, bald black dude singing about the struggles of gangbanging and the need for more and more and more white savior teachers to come to the hood and patronize students of color with temporary solutions that won't work. That's right, it was a muggy, hot, soggy, sweaty video. And it was my only introduction to violence because I went to a Chicago public school. Thank you very much.
That's your time, Mark. Turning it over to David. You have 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts now.
Listen, what's more hot and muggy than ballroom dancing? Okay, a ballroom dance floor is nothing more than an 8th grade locker room for theater kids who became adults, right? It's hot, it's sweaty, people moving, people grooving, okay? You're gonna get a little heat under your armpits, and let me tell you, that shitty 8th grade deodorant that they give you that becomes a little white bar that gets kicked around the locker room, don't do shit, okay? Nothing more than ballroom dancing is sweaty and muggy. It's a physical activity, for one. And even though it is a physical activity, it doubles as aerobic exercise. What happens during aerobic exercise? Y'all know it. You're hot and you're sweaty, okay? If you ever go to a ballroom dance place and you don't walk out hot and muggy, let me guess, you just did it wrong, okay? What did you do? Hurt yourself, get fucked up, and then have to sit out the whole night, and everyone's like, what happened, dog? And you're like, sorry, I just had to bow out of this hot and muggy event. If you're now walking out of dancing and your makeup isn't running, you did it wrong.
That's your time, David. Charisse, you will have 30 seconds to rebut both David and Mark, and your time starts now.
We were talking about the symphony and the arts, and I also grew up in an inner city public school. I went to DPS, so I kind of rebut your argument because I had a violin and I actually used to be able to play it. So not my fault that CPS is poor, not a good argument. And in terms of ballroom dancing being hot and muggy, you might get a little sweaty, but you're also supposed to look cute and look stylish. It's almost like figure skating, but like on a wooden floor. They don't really get that hot and sweaty. You're doing some triple axels and stuff.
All right, that is your time. All right, Mark, 30 seconds to rebut both David and Charisse. Your time starts now.
I am offended that Charisse would come here with her classist, big city smug attitude. Of course they had money in Detroit. They had RoboCop. That's how much money they had. We didn't have a RoboCop. We had crooked cops. They're much cheaper. I've never seen a violin before. Ballroom dancing might be hot and muggy, but the only thing I know about that is Antonio Banderas in that one movie, and he was pretty cool. So
that's your time, Mark. All right, David, 30 seconds to rebut both both Mark and Charisse. Your time starts now.
First of all, Mark, I believe that movie is called A League of Their Own, you uncultured baby back bitch. Second of all, the sympathy is definitely not hot and muggy. And also, both y'all motherfuckers talking about I'm in CPS. Don't speak about my job like that, okay? These kids know what violins are. Yes, it is muggy, but we got better AC. We not that broke now. Also, old people aren't always hot and muggy. That's ageist. Look at Mike. He's doing so good right now, okay?
That's your time, David. All right, let's get ready to get that voting going. First, I'm going to turn it over to Huck. Huck, who do you think won that round?
That's another toughie. Did you just giggle at toughie?
Not David.
You young CPS punk. I'm going to give it to Charisse.
All right, let's see if the audience agrees with you. Voting is open now. And we are going to see who is more hot and muggy. Is it ballroom dancing, the symphony, or old age? The voting is just about to close, and it looks like ballroom dancing and the symphony are going on, David and Mark. That means, Charisse, it is loser time for you, baby.
All right, so I'm still like really new at stand-up, and I've only done this one other time with some modifications, so bear with me, but yeah, so I kind of have some daddy issues, and it's not because like my dad was abusive or wasn't around when I was growing up. It's because he's a Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, and he's the only witness in my family. And he never tried to convert us, which is great because there's just something about being in a cult that doesn't sit right with my spirit. See, Jehovah's Witnesses have like strict laws and rules for living, except my dad. Like, so I consider him Jehovah's Witness light. Like he'll, refuse a blood transfusion because of his faith, but he still plays the lottery because, gamble for Jesus, I guess. I don't know. And as a kid, I hated growing up with a witness as a dad because I didn't understand his faith and neither did any of my classmates, but that didn't stop them from being assholes about it. Like, asking me, what were Jesus and the gang up to in the latest edition of The Watchtower? And if you don't know what The Watchtower is, it is the Jehovah's Witness comic book for all things righteous living. So if you're ever in a grocery store parking lot and all of a sudden you're being accosted about how you need to get your life together and like being yelled at for going to hell just for buying groceries, those are Jehovah's Witnesses. And Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate, major holidays, but my dad had two exceptions. One, his wedding anniversary, and the other one is the day the Detroit Lions drafted Barry Sanders. If you're a football fan, then you know both of these days are now days of mourning. So while we didn't celebrate Christmas, I still got gifts, and it was kind of confusing because I didn't understand why, but my dad claimed because that time of year, that's when gifts were cheapest. We had a big family and it made sense. Apparently my parents liked having unprotected sex a lot. So imagine my classmates' confusion when I told them I got a Barbie for Christmas because my dad got his 40% off. And that's really up to him and his maker to figure that out. So worse than that, I didn't understand my dad's beliefs. So one time I asked him to explain it to me. And I knew I'd made a mistake when I heard Eye of the Tiger cue up. Yeah, he went through the Old Testament, the New Testament, no biblical stone was unturned. And he only stopped because I kept calling the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse the My Little Ponies. Yeah, it really made the rapture a little less bleak. So the next time you guys encounter a woman and she has daddy issues, it may not be because her dad's a bad guy. He just may be a Jehovah's Witness. So I can see the rest of my time.
All right, give it up for Charisse Foster. Thank you. All right, everyone. So let's bring back our 2 finalists, David and Mark. right, not prepared for this final round. We're going to be getting suggestions from you. What's your name?
Darren.
Can you tell me an adjective, please?
Oh, fluffy.
Fluffy. Yeah. Wonderful. What's your name?
Anita.
Anita. Can I get a noun or a verb? Jump. Jump? Perfect. Let's see. Over here, what's your name?
Christian.
Christian, can I get a noun or a verb, please?
Fire.
Fire. Fire sounds great. All right, Mark, you're going to have fire. David, you're going to have jump. And you all have to give us why it is more fluffy. Mark, we'll start with you. You have 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts now.
Why is fire fluffy? Man, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Fire is not fluffy. I really thought I was gonna get jump and fluffy together. You know what I mean? I had a whole thing for that. I was like, oh, I'm on this side. It went first. It just makes sense. I don't see how I wound up with fire, and that brings me to riots. Riots are also not fluffy, but damn it if they aren't effective. You know what I mean? I feel like I should burn some shit down right now. How does it work out that I have to justify how fire is fluffy? Y'all should vote for me just simply because this is some bullshit, right? That's what y'all really are voting for. You're not voting based on the words that I'm saying. You're voted based on the principle. And you all seem like very principled people. Thank you very much.
That's your time, Mark. All right. David, you have 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts now.
Shout out Christian for the fire suggestion. We just got to watch Mark talk himself into a circle that he's probably not coming out of. I would argue that jump is definitely a fluffy thing, because you can fluffy jump. What's the most thing that fluffy jumps the most in the world? You said it, fucking bunnies, dude. I love bunnies in this bitch, all right? You ever see them hopscotch around? First of all, Bugs Bunny, the most famous bunny of them all, always ducking and weaving, Elmer Fudd, jumping and hopping, squirming and squeaming his dumb ass, all right? Third of all, if it's jumping and it's fluffy, it's probably a bunny. This is fun. I raised bunnies when I was in like 2nd grade. We found like a bunch of them in my backyard. We brought them in, like raised them, made them. Them bitches were like hopping around the house at one point, got stuck behind the oven. I didn't eat food for like a week because I was like, oh, it might be bunny. I don't know. Listen, I'm saying that jump is pretty fluffy right now. I think the bunny comparison was pretty top tier. I ain't gonna hold y'all.
All right, that's your time, David. Mark. Yeah. Mark, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
Of course, bunnies are fluffy and can jump. That is my whole damn point. Fluffy and jump automatically go together. Fire. That makes no damn sense. If you vote for him, you are voting for a white man who speaks that hippity hop to black kids in the CPS system. And is that really what y'all want to do? Vote for me. I have an X on my jacket. I'm an articulate black man. You
all right, that
are
is
an upscale North Side audience. Don't let me down.
All right, Mark, that's your time. David, you have 30 seconds to rebut. Your time starts now.
Mark out here preaching like a failed poet. Let's calm down, bro. Fire is definitely not fluffy, and I think you've just proved that the most for me, dog. Your total disdain for this whole vibe, I really fuck with. But you're right. Maybe maybe it's a little fluffy and you just didn't take the time to think about it. Maybe you got caught up in your little ways, right? And you're gonna go write some bad haikus about it later. Fire is definitely not fluffy, but it could have been if you just tried, Mark.
All right, that is your time, David. We are about to open up this voting. First, I'm going to turn over to Charisse. Who do you think won that round?
I have to give it to Mark. I know his argument didn't make any sense. He really tried to make lemons out of lemonade, or in this case, like make a fire fluffy, but it wasn't there. So I guess it's creativity.
All right, we'll see if the audience agreed with you. The voting is open now. Please look at the letters in front of the performer that you want to vote for. You're voting for either A or B. Which one is more fluffy, fire or jump?
Fuck you,
The
Mike.
votes.
I saw that shit. You baby back bitch.
You know what I mean?
All right,
in this
the-
audience, we believe that science is real and that Black Lives Matter
All right.
and that all people have rights, David. Just accept that.
With the votes 8-7, David has won this round.
Ah, suck it, nerd.
That's perfect.
I'm going to ask
was
that
perfect.
the comedians who have lost do their walk of shame now, except for Mark, who's going to do some loser time for us.
Thank you. Oh, okay, bet. I got it. Do I have 4? I have 4 minutes? 4 minutes and 12 seconds? Oh, I have 8 minutes. Okay, cool. That's good to know. All right, does anybody have kids here? Anybody have children at all? In the back, a couple people. Yeah, okay, bet. I have children. I have 3 kids. I have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And I bring it up because I'm very excited, actually. It's an exciting time for me, especially right now, because they're not fucking here. You know what I mean? So, woo! Yes! I've not had a night out by myself in 12 years. I don't know what I'm going to do. Might drop acid in the alley after this. It's going to be a party. All right, so I'll be like out with my kids and people. Here's the thing. I'm beginning to suspect that society is grading me on like a stereotypical black man curve as a father. I'll explain what I mean by this. I get praise for the most basic parenting functions. You understand what I'm saying? People are a little too damn excited to see me raising my own biological children, right? They'll see me pushing my kids on the swing at the park and come up to me moved to tears. Just touched deep in their soul like they seen the ghost of Martin Luther King Jr. It's just like, oh. That is beautiful, it really is. There should be more like you. You're a hero. Morgan Freeman should play you in a movie, sir. It's hilarious. People are weird about children. The things that they think children don't understand versus the things that they do. You'll hear people say shit like, oh, you explain gay stuff on the TV, confusing the kids. How do I explain gay stuff on TV to kids? It's like, it's very easy to explain to kids. It's like, yes, they're of the same gender and they love and respect each other. It's a very easy thing to explain. Racism is real tricky, like, to break that down to people, like how it works, because it's very weird. Like, the older I get, the more I realize this, like, whiteness is not actually a thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like something they put on your ID to help you get into places, but it's not like a real identity per se. If you had to trade in your like actual heritage to become a white person, like when you first got to the country, if you were Irish, you didn't get to be white. If you was Italian, you didn't get to be white. They didn't start letting Jewish people be white until they started stealing black musicians' publishing, right? You can buy your way into whiteness. Just like I was reading the article and it was like, Kourtney Kardashian and being a white mom with black children. I was like, are Armenian people white? I didn't know that. I didn't know that Armenian people got to be white. They went through a whole genocide, but one reality show, they get to jump right into whiteness. That's crazy. I was not aware of that at all. I feel like sexuality works the same way. It's very much class-based. It's not that it's an actual thing, it's that they're criminalizing the way that you interact with people. You know what I mean? It's very much class-based. Like, you'll hear people say classist things about sexuality. They'll be like, oh, I experimented a little when I was in college. You have to afford to go to college to experiment. You know what I mean? You gotta take out student loans, find out whether or not you're pansexual. You know what I mean? And it depends on what college you go to, right? If you go to DePaul, you're experimenting while you're in college. If you go to community college and you stay at your auntie house, you just gay. That's, you know what I mean? That's it. Like for me, for example, right? Like I grew up in Harvey, Illinois, which is a suburb, but it's a suburb where you can get robbed, right? It's very much personal. Right. So it's a working class, predominantly black neighborhood, right? So me personally, right? I only am interested in having like romantic or sexual relationships with women. But I can only have those relationships with women if we have some sort of like emotional connection, right? So that makes my official sexuality in my neighborhood growing up a soft ass nigga. You see how that works? It's a spectrum, is my point. Or they might be like, man, you gay as a motherfucker. That might be something that you would hear people say, right? Like, for example, they'd be like, hey, Mark, I seen you walking Tiffany home from school last week, bro. You hitting that? No, actually, I enjoy her company, and I'm concerned for her safety. Safety? This nigga Mark gay than a motherfucker, bro. We don't have as many letters in ours, you know what I mean? It's not LGBTQ. It's only 3 things you can be in that neighborhood. You can be gay, you can be straight, and if you're a girl, you get to be freaky. That's, they throw that one in. Maybe they'll call her confused. They'll be like, she a lesbian, she confused. I'm like, no, she's coming. I think she's got that together, actually. It's interesting, like, how those things are, like, divided up just in general. I was on the internet recently, and this is something that I see a lot. It's mostly from, like, my friends and my peers and shit that will say stuff like, hey, I'm not my ancestors. These ain't the 60s. I'm not my ancestors. You can get these hands. I'm like, stop talking shit about the ancestors. Like, they was way tougher than we are. Like, calm down with that type of shit. Like, my ancestors, okay, my grandfather, right, got called a nigga by a white man in Mississippi. He whooped that white man's ass, got arrested, went to jail, broke out of jail, packed his family up, drove through the night to Chicago. That's how we got here. That's my ancestors. Me. Thank you, right? Me, I get lost in the IKEA every damn time. 100% of the time. Then I gotta call on the ancestors like Harriet Tubman. Please guide me past the bunk beds and the futons of mine enemies. It don't even have to be like my direct ancestors. It's like the people who came before us and fought, they fought for some real shit. It was very difficult, right? Like Fred Hampton Sr., right? From the west side of Chicago, 21 years old, organized the city, all of the free breakfast and free lunch programs that the city has, all of the free clinics and all that type of shit that Chicago has. He is the one who brought that type of shit to Chicago. Got murdered, got assassinated by the FBI and the Chicago police, right? And that's funny how they like killed him for doing that and then social services started doing it too. Very interesting, right? That's our ancestor, right? Powerful orator too, will say some real fly shit like, I'm not gonna die of no heart attack. I'm not gonna die slipping on no ice. I'm gonna die for the people because I live for the people. Incredible. Me. I'm probably gonna die slipping on some ice. That's a very plausible death. Very plausible death for me. You know what I mean? I'll be the first dude in the history of the movement that get assassinated by a shove. The FBI be planning that shit out like, all right, we're gonna go to his house on a Sunday afternoon when he's carrying groceries up the driveway. He'll have on church shoes. There'll be no traction. Somebody walk by, get your hand on my pocket. Oh! I was born by a river in a little tent. I'm Mark James Heath. Thank you guys so much.
Give it up for Mark, everyone. Now, please put your hands together for tonight's master debater, David Donick.
Make some noise for the master debater, baby! Did he say masturbator? No, I'm a teacher. I would never do that. David Donick, nice to meet you all. Do you guys have some energy, right? Make some noise. That's awesome. Yeah. Y'all could have been sucking and fucking on a Saturday night, but you guys were like, let's sit in some chairs and watch people talk, right? That's good. That's good. I am a teacher. I do teach out in CPS. I teach out on the South Side. It's a good time, man. It's weird for me to say that I'm a teacher, though, because I really don't look like one. I look like an eyewitness to just any crime. Like, CPD might come in here right now and be like, sir, did you see anything this evening? And I gotta stand there and be like, listen, officer, snitches get stitches, and I teach kids in gangs. Like, I ain't seen shit, cuz, you know. Y'all are narcs. That's crazy. I do teach kids in gangs. That's a fun time. I am like one of the only like younger teachers in the building, so a lot of the times the kids try to get me to join their gangs, and they'll roll up on me and they'll be like, Mr. Donick, you gotta join my gang, dog. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to get beat up by a bunch of 14-year-olds on a Tuesday, okay? That's not on my agenda. But they always push back. They're like, nah, you don't understand, Mr. Donick. That's some old gang shit. You gotta do some new gang shit. You gotta hit a lick in this bitch. And I'm like, young man, I'm not licking any bitches in this building. And he's like, nah, you don't understand. You just gotta steal something from the school, Mr. Donick. And I was like, all right, what do I gotta steal? And he's like, me and my homies, we came in here and we stole the most devious lick, Mr. Donick. We stole a whole bathroom stall. Bitch, a what? A bathroom stall? First of all, I poop in those bitches. Like, put it back. I need that for third period, okay? Also, how did you even do that? And I like to imagine, though, that, like, 4 kids, like, came in the building late at night. They got, like, screwdrivers and shit. They take this whole bathroom stall and they just, like, put it in a park. And now it's their, like, smoking weed stall, you know? Smoking weed, making memories and whatnot. The kids, they try to sell me weed, too. That's fun. They'll roll up on me so fast, and they're like, Mr. Donick, I got some weed that you and your white friends might like. And I'm like, dude, I could go to a building on the north side and be A-okay. But I start to mess with them now, too. They're like, come on, Mr. Donick, buy my weed. I'm like, dude, I could buy better weed from a crackhead on the red line, because at least it would have crack in it, you know? I get that 2 for 1. And he's like, nah, you don't understand, Mr. Donick. I got that 95th Street Goo Goo Gaga Zuzu Zaza. It'll knock you on your ass. I bought that shit immediately, dog. I took 1 hit of that Goo Goo Gaga Zuzu Zaza, and I was like, oh, isn't color just like seasoning for eyesight? Shit. I feel like y'all should smoke some more weed. Just saying. It's down the street, you know? Unless you want that Zaza, I got a link. The kids, man. I teach high schoolers, right? I got freshmen and seniors. The freshmen, they just say the wildest things to me. Last year, all these freshmen came to me after COVID, right? And I told them that they could come to me with anything. And one kid came to me one day, and he was like, Mr. Donick, I got a question. And I was like, yeah, what's up, big pimp? And he like came in, and he leaned on my desk, and he was like, old sluts, skinny sluts, fat sluts, funny sluts. I'd be on them all, Mr. Donick, and then just walked out of my class. And I was like, old, skinny, fat, funny. First of all, you're 14, dog. What's an old slut to you, okay? I'm 25. Technically, I'm a slutty old bitch at this point, right? But it was kind of nice that funny sluts was in there. Like, imagine someone's giving you, like, the best head of your life that you've ever received, and then they pop up and go, what's the deal? You know? Old, skinny, fat, funny. Also, did you just Dr. Seuss me before my weekend? I didn't teach that book, you bitch. How did you get that, okay? We don't have a library. We're broke. It's fun, man. I love these kids. They do a lot. I teach at an all-black school on the south side. That's not true. We got, like, one Eminem, but we don't talk about him until, you know, the album drops. But every day he's in there like, hibbity, skibbity, ibbity, biddity. And I'm like, yeah, go, Kevin! He and I are the only 2 white people, so the kids are like, is he your son? I'm like, he's not my son, but he's my boy, you know? I love Kevin. But it's great. It's a fun time, man. This past school year, I taught a lot of really cool classes. I taught a seminar class, I taught a writing class, and I also taught African American literature, which when I got that assignment, I was like, are you sure? But I taught it because, you know, they paid me. And I walked in there on the first day, all these kids are looking at me and just go, mm-hmm. I was like, here we go, man. But it was great. I developed like a really good rapport with the kids, right? I got to know them really well. They was really fun. Towards the end of the year, they were reaching out to me on Instagram, and one kid reached out to me. He was like, hey, yo, Mr. Donick, thank you so much for passing me in African American literature. Keep putting them grades in. Black King. I was like, no problem, Jalen. Anytime, bro. But it was fun. A lot of times in African American literature, what would happen is I would get the kids to try to like read something, and then we would talk about it or argue about it as a class, right? But what it turned into often was just the kids arguing about white people and apologizing to me. A lot of the times they'd be like, white people, sorry, Mr. Donick, need to die. And I gotta stand there and be like, yo, dog, I agree. Can you explain it in 3 to 5 sentences, though, homie? The principal walks in, is like, Mr. Donick, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I think I'll be fine. Probably. Anyway, Billie Holiday was dope. That They're cool, man. It got to the point in African American literature where instead of doing my assignments, these goofy bitch-ass kids would take my markers and colored pencils and make handwritten N-word passes and then just like slide them to me and hope that I would grade it. Which, by the way, I'll treat an N-word pass like cryptocurrency. Like, it might be valuable, I'll never use it, but someone might buy that shit from me, you know? If you're not laughing, you're broke. That's okay. But at the end of the year, I had like so many N-word passes like sitting on my desk. I had a stack of 60 of them. One of my seniors comes in. He's like chumming it up. He's about to go to college, right? He's like, yo, Mr. Donick, are those 60 N-word passes sitting on your desk? And I was like, yeah. How did you know that shit without counting, huh? He's like, all right. He leaves. He comes back an hour later. He's got a golden ticket, and he's like waving it like a flag, right? He takes all 60 of my N-word passes, and I'm sitting there like, my money, you know? Gives me this golden ticket, and I'm like, dog, I don't need this. And he's like, Mr. Donick, don't you know, dude? Once you get 60 N-word passes, you could say that shit with a hard R, my boy. I was like, dog, I don't need this shit. And he goes, hey, it's your move, Willy Wonka, and then just danced away, man. It was crazy. There's a lot of fights in my building, too, right? The one day there was a fight right outside my door. 4 kids were squared up, about to throw hands, and I was just recording it for World Star, because I'm 5'9", I ain't gonna do shit, you know? And out of nowhere, one of my star students comes like flying down the hallway, right? He's got like straight A's, he's like an international baccalaureate kid. He goes, stop the fight, stop the fight. And I'm sitting there like, I can't wait to write him up for also being in the fight. He jumps in the center of it. He goes, stop the fight. This kid pulls out hand sanitizer, squirts up all 4 dudes, goes ding ding, and dips. I was like, holy shit, if you're gonna throw hands, at least let them be clean, right? In this economy, nobody's catching monkeypox or COVID. A security comes, they like break up the fight. One of my students was in the fight, and he's laid up. He's like, Mr. Donick, you gotta help me out in this bitch. Now, he talks a lot of shit, so I was like, hey, bro, what did you say to get in that fight? And he goes, Mr. Donick, I said that his mom's pussy got alligator teeth. Alligator teeth? You ever see a pussy with alligator teeth? That is the snack that smiles back. Coochie, you know? It's a goldfish joke for you guys in the crowd. For your audiences watching at home, I hope you love this. It's crazy, man. I teach English. I did a poetry unit, and I do this thing where when I don't want to work, I just like have them do research assignments, and that's a mistake. I told them to find me some slam poems one day, and these kids brought the most booty-ass slam poems on the face of the planet. All of them had like intros that were like, me and my pops hopped in the whip as we whipped on to pop Oz. And then they would throw in some like duty childhood trauma. That's like when we were standing in line at the Pop Oz, all of a sudden we heard a pop, pop, pop. So then we dropped, and that was when I realized that my pops had gotten popped in the eye. Stupid. And then the video cuts out because I didn't pay the cable bill, you know? I'll get down on this one. I did teach seniors. They were really great. A lot of times, I don't know if your students did, or you did this with your teachers or whatever, but most of you seem old, so you look like you don't have social media in high school. My bad. But a thing that students do is reach out on Instagram and Facebook. And one of my students reached out to me. She was like, Mr. Donick, you said you would always read my writing before I graduated. She's like, can you please read this? I was like, of course. What is it? She sent me a 3-paragraph breakup text to look over. And I swear to God, my favorite line from it was, Keontae, I just don't fuck with you no more. I'm a Leo and I need to roar. And I read that and I was like, speak yo truth, bitch. But add a semicolon. My God. Thank you. I'm David Donick.
All right, everyone, that has been our show, War of Words. Thank you so much for coming out. Have a safe drive home.